Hey there, and welcome back to Mutant Year Zero. My name is Pete, and today we complete episode 10 of our Iron Mutant playthrough. In the last episode, we made some major storyline progress. We finally rescued Hammond from the Nova sect, and we learned a bit more about Eden, and reaching that place is now our next and probably final objective of the game. However, it will take us a few more episodes until we actually get to that, and today we are actually not going to make any progress towards it whatsoever. Instead, we will be undertaking an entirely optional adventure, but one that will likely be more than worth it. Now, to start us off today, we will do a quick shopping trip at Iridia's, and we will begin with what is perhaps a slightly unusual purchase, because despite having advanced to level 50 already, we are now going to buy the pipe gun. The reasons for that are achievement related, and we'll talk more about that in due time. Up next then, we can see that Iridia also has a GJR-666 sniper rifle in store, which is the very same weapon that we only acquired recently in the last episode. However, this one is already fully upgraded, which makes it an easy purchase, as scrap is generally much more easy to come by compared to weapon parts. Finally then, we are going to purchase another one of those multi-purpose scopes. At the moment, this is by far the best weapon attachment that we can acquire.
Bye.
And following that, we are now heading over to Prip's place.
Pull up a stool, stalkers.
With 2 artifacts in hand, we can now finally unlock the Butcher upgrade. This will give everyone an additional 10% critical hit chance, but only against living creatures. For the moment though, those still make up the majority of enemies we encounter, so I consider these 2 points well spent.
Have a swell time out there.
And last but not least, time to stop by at Delta's Fix Pit.
Fix boss was my dad, and my dad just died. So now you're stuck with me. What do you want?
And what we want is to actually dismantle that precious GJR that we acquired just in the last episode. Again, we just bought one that is better in all aspects, and despite its stopping power, we really only need one. The same then goes for that last Rambino that we still have, as well as for the Slinger rifle. Considering our current loadout, we will likely never use these again, so we might as well turn them into weapon parts. At this point, it is then time to make a few small modifications, starting with that new scope we just acquired, which can go on the needle pistol. Our new pipe gun can also get a scope, although we will likely only fire it once in this entire playthrough, so the rest of the upgrades will go on that GJR. I think that weapon will inevitably see a bit more action.
Take it easy.
And that is our loadout complete, so let us now see who actually receives that firepower. And today we are sending out Farrow, Borman and Magnus. Borman is also the one who will carry the pipe gun, again though very likely only for one shot. With his abilities being Hog Rush, Twitch Shot and Eagle Eye, we don't have to make any changes on that front, which is a slightly different story for Magnus, who is actually carrying the boomstick today, and who we have switched over from Silent Assassin to Telekinesis Shield, because we actually want to keep his critical hit chance as low as possible, otherwise the increased damage output might interfere with our achievement plans today. That brings us to Farrow, who is carrying the Elysium together with Mothwings, Gunslinger and Silent Assassin, and who will actually receive a new ability now in the form of the Corpse Eater mutation. This ability allows her to take a bite out of fallen enemies to restore hit points, but if things go according to plan, then we don't really need the ability to keep her alive, but simply to once again unlock another achievement. And since we now still have 13 points left on her, we might as well grab Circuit Breaker and Frog Legs as well. Circuit Breaker might come in handy as long as Dux isn't in the party, and while in my opinion Frog Legs is generally inferior to Mothwings, it still can't hurt to have it, and eventually we want to unlock every mutation anyway. Before we then head out, let us make sure to actually equip Corpse Eater, and then it's time to begin today's adventure, which actually starts off by revisiting the area that we just left behind, as we are now returning to the Spear of Heaven. The reason for that is quite simple, and due to the magic of editing, it will likely not take us too long to complete this, but due to this area being among the largest and most open in the entire game, I may have overlooked 1 or 2 items of interest last time, which we are now going to collect. That includes a pile of scrap in front of the red car here, and as many of you have pointed out in the comments of the last episode, we actually also went to collect another pile of scrap and then somehow didn't. Rewatching the episode, it looked like I got my buttons mixed up, so let's fix that mistake by grabbing this pile here as well. Just a few meters up ahead, where we blew up the robot last time, we then have another small pile. and heading past the church all the way into a northeastern direction, we will eventually reach a truck in the grass, and behind that truck we can collect some valuable weapon parts. Now, at this point the area is finally cleared though, which means we can properly begin today's journey, although once more that takes us to an area that we have already seen, as we will, for just a moment, traverse the Sea Titans again. This time though, we will not use the ferry to revisit the House of Bones. Instead, we are quickly making our way east towards another map exit, which will then finally bring us to today's first real destination.
There's an underground complex near here. Very close, I think. Never seen it, but I heard about it. A clan lived in it, and they supposedly left some good stuff before disappearing. Look at this giant. Probably been sitting here for centuries. This giant's a machine. It's got that mimer mark we've been seeing.
So here we are at the Rot Warren, and one of the very first sights is an old robot, which is hopefully not a sign of things to come. There is also a decent amount of loot scattered around this small outcropping. Eventually though, the area turns out to be a dead end, and we have to return to that fence that we saw earlier. By the way, thanks to a lot of your feedback, I have actually decided to continue to attempt to play this as a no damage taken playthrough, and to also attempt to continue to find ways that guarantee that we take no damage, as some of the other no damage playthroughs on YouTube are taking considerable risks here and there, and I don't really want the entire premise of this playthrough to rely on landing 50% criticals or mind controls on strong enemies like tanks.
Someone busted in here recently. There might be some of our rothead buddies down there. Look alive. We're getting pretty deep. I'm not saying I'm scared, but...
And it appears we have found an underground bunker, so let's take a closer look inside.
Elder Almighty. This place is like the Ark, but the people here were slaughtered.
And indeed, so far we have only seen corpses, but perhaps the people responsible are still close by. In any case, this definitely backs up what we have heard so far about the ghouls' plans to attack the Ark, and this is certainly a fate that we want to avoid.
These are the ghouls that slaughtered the community. They scare the hell out of me. But we have to show them that good triumphs over evil. Who's with me?
I'm hungry. What about the cook?
You want the cook to cook for us? He's got no food!
No! I want to eat the cook. Eat him!
No, he's too bony. He smells rotten too.
Yes! I smell like shit. Taste like shit too. Just shitty all around. You don't want to get near me.
And of course, it was only a matter of time until the first enemies would show up. So far, we have avoided combat, however, and can instead read through the note here, which tells the story of one of the inhabitants, and it looks like they were actually kept inside and underground at all times, which is certainly not a great situation to be in, but then again, neither is being slaughtered by ghouls.
Give up now and I'll go easy on ya. From me.
And speaking of which, sneaking past and completely avoiding the Medbots, our first target is now the Marauder here, against whom we can easily land a critical hit with Farrow, before we then also move up Magnus and Bormin to get them both as far away from the Medbot as possible.
Enough!
Move out.
Of course, eventually we will want to take that robot out, but for achievement purposes it is very important that it stays alive for the time being.
Look! That's no ghoul. He must be the sole survivor.
Farrow then notices that our enemies have taken a prisoner, but before we can rescue them we have some more work to do. So let us sneakily climb up to the hunter here, who we can then engage, hopefully without anybody else noticing. A crit and 2 regular hits will be enough to finish the job.
Come get some!
And being on the high ground actually keeps us from being detected. which is very important because there are quite a few more enemies in the area. And securing this outlook here is absolutely crucial for the next big fight that is coming up. Now, at the end of the fight, we quickly want to give Magnus a chem flare and then drop that on the Hunter, Shaman and Pyro down below. Yes, we already have the high ground, but this might be necessary still.
Advance!
We are then actually not going to engage that group just yet. Instead, we are taking the stairs to head back down. The first reason is of course that there is some loot over in this side of the bunker. The second one is a patrolling butcher who we can quickly mind control. This is now Magnus's successful use of Puppeteer number 8 in this playthrough, so the related achievement is certainly getting closer. I am actually also still planning to show you using a mind-controlled enemy to do some damage, but unfortunately Puppeteer is only guaranteed to succeed on Butchers and Marauders, who both have a pretty bad damage output, at least compared to what we can do at this point in the game. Still, the map that is coming up after this one might give us a good opportunity. This Butcher right here though will have to go down without anybody else getting involved. That also means that we no longer have any use for Puppeteer in this mission and can switch Magnus back over to Chain Lightning. After all, there is still a Medbot wandering around, and sooner or later we want to take it out. However, that time has not come just yet, and so we will once again have to sneak by. We are also doing this portion of the mission only with Bormin, as Magnus and Farrow will in just a moment return to the high ground, while Bormin needs to be in a slightly different spot, and to get there it is actually easiest if we once again loop around. In just a moment we are then going to engage and hope to unlock 2 achievements in one and the same fight, and because I forgot to do that earlier, at this point it might also be worth noting that both Magnus and Farrow are currently wearing Pyro armor, and that we also have a Pyro who is still standing. You are of course free to draw your own conclusions about the upcoming fight from that. For the moment though, it is crucial that we get Bormin into cover right behind the barrel here.
Follow me.
And then we can jump back over to Farrow and Magnus, who will, like I said, return to the high ground. At this point, we have 4 enemies left in the area, including the Medbot, and we want to take them out in a very particular way, which begins by making sure that Magnus here is in a perfectly straight line with the Shaman and the Pyro, and by also making sure that the Medbot is as far over to the left side as it can be. Then we can launch our ambush, and we are starting things off with Farrow's Gunslinger, and thanks to the range of the Elysium and the Chem Flare, we can land 3 guaranteed critical hits here.
Get some!
That gets the attention of everyone, including the Medbot, but we're actually only getting 1 more kill here this turn, as Magnus takes out the Hunter.
We've lost one!
Then it's Bormin's turn and we have to split his move into 2. First, we want to make sure that he gets right behind the Shaman, once again in a perfectly straight line with the Pyro, and then we want to use Hog Rush to get the Shaman a little closer to the Pyro. Now, on the enemy turn, the Pyro will always target clusters of enemies, which is why we gave Farrow and Magnus those suits of armor, as they absorb the damage and the 2 of them remain unharmed.
Got me good! Damn it!
The Medbot then makes its way over to the fallen Hunter, but of course can't get there in 1 turn, so we have a bit more time to bring Shaman and Pyro closer together, this time with a crossbow bolt from Magnus. And now we have reached that point where we need the pipe gun. If we shoot the Shaman with the needle pistol, there is a 35% chance that we land a critical and kill them immediately, and that is absolutely not what we want. Instead, using the pipe gun, we can do at most 7 points of damage, and even if we did only 6, that would be just fine. And indeed, 6 points it is, so let us now move Farrow in for the kill, a kill that can be achieved by shooting only the Pyro, who will then drop his molotov, which damages the Shaman for 1 point and also sets them on fire, and that fire will then do an additional point of damage at the end of the turn, killing the Shaman and unlocking the Butterfingers achievement.
Injury detected.
I don't know.
Alright, now that was 1 achievement, but I know I promised you 2. And this is where Farrow's corpse eater mutation now comes into play, as we do have a few dead bodies lying around. However, we specifically want to target the one that is currently being revived by the medbot, which is also why we left that medbot alive in the first place, and why we made sure that it was close by when we began the fight.
Or I will be authorized to use a calming spray.
And there we are, no hit points gained, but the nom nom achievement has been unlocked anyway.
You're the zero. What do you think about that?
And because we moved her up on the last turn, Farrow can actually land a lucky critical hit here as well, which is swiftly followed by a slightly less impressive hit from Borman's needle pistol. The medbot is now down to only 7 hit points, and even a regular hit from Farrow earlier would have sufficed, because, as you remember, just a moment ago we equipped Magnus with Chain Lightning, and we now intend on using that.
Follow me.
And there we are, the Rot Warren has been cleared, we have gained another level, and we will spend a few more moments down here. After all, as always, there are some valuables to be collected.
Oh yeah, come to Farrow.
Over here in the chest then we find the second suit of gladiator armor. I believe Dux is currently wearing the other one, so we will likely not have a desperate need for this one going forward, so let us instead now talk to that prisoner that the ghouls have taken.
Ah, my saviors, saviors, dirty little saviors. I wish I washed my hands so I could shake your hands and paws or whatever's growing out of your arms. I'm not racist, I'm not. Please, tell me your names.
You need to take a breath and calm down. You're the only survivor of your community. Your brain must be a little fried. And what we're trying to ask you is, did you lose your mind? Because your eyes are whacked.
No, Whackjob. I'm Ebba. Ebba the cook. I'm the one who cooks and cleans for the pretty people. They were pretty. For decades, we hid from the zone. We were safe until the ghouls found a way in. You first hear the screams, and then the lights went out, and you can hear the scraping and the chewing. Hey, I'm no warrior. I'm just a cook, you know? Ebba, dirty little coward.
We thought the last settlement was the Ark. We didn't know you existed.
Well, you got to get out of the Ark more, mate. Get some exercise.
We should get you out of here.
Wait a minute. Did you say Ark? Oh, boy. You don't want to hear this. You really don't want to hear this. They kept saying they were gonna destroy the Ark with some weapon that they're bringing to their masters, some weird religious shit. They want to blow up the Ark and kill everyone inside. Everyone! Listen, these ghouls have a lair to the north. The leader's called the Grey One. They're just multiplying up there, breeding like zone rats. Please do something about them before it's too late.
Okay, so unfortunately just one more person confirming what we kind of already knew. The ghouls definitely appear to have their eyes set on the Ark, and from what we have learned in the last episode, also on pretty much the entire zone beyond that. Of course, that makes finding that ghoul camp up north and ideally eliminating the leader Grey One all the more important, and that is exactly what we're going to do next, and by next I mean in the next episode. I originally wanted to do both missions in one video, but that would have delayed this video by at least a few days, which would have also meant that you would have to wait a little longer for the next RimWorld episode as well, and so in the end I decided to make this a nice 20-minute video and leave the next mission for the next one. That next mission will take place, you have seen it already, in the Lair of the Horned Devil, and if things go according to plan, then we should be able to unlock 3 more achievements during that one. So stay tuned for that, and in the meantime I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, then I would of course be very happy if you could leave a thumbs up. If you like what I'm doing and want to support me and my channel further, then you can go ahead and subscribe to stay up to date, grab some merch over on shop.petecomplete.com, or check out and maybe even pledge to the Pete Complete Patreon. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.